Amaduochi. The dates and time are as follows: 5th April 2021, traditional ceremony at Ikwere Local Government Council premises, Isiokpo Town, Ikwere Local Government Area, River State, time 12 noon. April 7, 2021, white wedding at International Conference Center, adjacent Central Bank of Nigeria, Ogorube Layout, Umahia, Abia State, time 10 a.m. Wedding reception and broadcasting corporation of Abia State premises, government layout, BCA Road, Umahia, Abia State, time 1 p.m. Remain blessed. Signed, Senator T.A.O.G.C.O.N. Letter from distinguished Senator Dr. Ibrahim Yahya Olorogbe, Kwara Central Senatorial District. Your Excellency, sir, my book launch, a letter of invitation. I humbly wish to invite Your Excellency and all distinguished senators to the launching of my biography, which was written and produced in November 2020 by my children and family members in commemoration of my 60th birthday. The book Paragon of Virtue, Diary of Ibrahim Yahya Olorogbe at 60, is a compilation of views of my family members, friends and colleagues, political associates and others who are witnesses to my life journey so far. It also captures my humble background and growth as a young boy with great aspirations, my career as a medical doctor whose focus is helping others, and of course, my political history that explains my active participation towards improving the standard of governance, as well as positively remolding the collective aspirations of our people, particularly in Kwara State as well as Nigeria. While I give gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for my journey so far, it is still my goal to push the envelope of humanity with every opportunity of my breathing. Thus, this book launch is another such opportunity to contribute to my community, my constituency, and the nation, as all proceeds from the book would be channeled to my foundation in providing more humanitarian interventions in the communities and lives of my constituents and Nigerians at large. Therefore, I would be greatly honored to secure your presence as well as the presence of all my distinguished colleagues at this event, which is scheduled as follows. Venue, International Conference Center. Is it in Abuja? Abuja. Date, 20th April 2021. Time, 2 p.m. Your Excellency, I personally look forward to your presence and the presence of all distinguished senators at this event, as this will further strengthen my primary goal of energizing our youth in nation building through positive examples of patriotism and active involvement in politics and governance. So kindly be assured of my warmest regards. Yours truly, Senator Ibrahim Yahya Olorogbe. Petitions. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Bala Ibn Allah.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, I'd like to proceed on Order 42 and 52 of the Rules Book of the Senate 2015 as amended, sir. With your permission, I read 42.
You may proceed.
The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Mr. President, I'm very sure I have fulfilled this condition. If the claim by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of the senators, the matter shall stand over till the next legislative day. 52, with due respect, says, that notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. I urge that my distinguished colleagues grant me the privilege of invoking Order 52, sir.
Thank you very much, distinguished Senator Bola Ibn Nala. Senator Bolani Ibn Nala approached me this morning and gave me a synopsis of his desire to present a motion under our standing orders 42 and 52. And it says mandatory that I ask for, he gets the endorsement of at least 1/5 of senators present. So those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Senator Bola Nala.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues. The motion is a very straightforward matter, and I move it on terms of the motion paper that the Senate knows with concern the rising humanitarian situation in Bena, in Kogi State, arising from the bandit activities in the neighboring Zamfara State, which shares border with Kogi. That the Senate is worried that the internally displaced persons from almost 17 villages in Zamfara, sharing border with Kogi, have moved to Bena and Wasagu area and Maga with no arrangement for an IDP camp and are scattered all over, making it very difficult to cater for their welfare. That the Senate hereby resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs as a matter of urgency to establish an IDP camp in Bena and render support to the effort of Kogi State government for the welfare of the IDPs. That the Senate urged the National Security Advisor and all agencies involved in internal security at the moment to increase deployment of security agencies to the affected areas. And that is the motion, with due respect, my colleagues.
Senator Tolu Odebi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Tolu Odebi. I represent Ogun West. Mr. President, permit me to rise this morning under Order 43 and 52. And if you permit, I may read. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the...
No, somebody raised a point of order, so it's not this thing. Senator Rocha Sokorecha.
Okay, Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved.
But you are reading another point of order. So if you are going to second his point of order, you can. I mean, not point of order, the motion he raised.
I rise to support the motion ably moved. I so second. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, we'll go straight to the press. This is a straightforward motion. Why the press? Prayer 1. The Senate hereby requests to urge... Okay. The Senate hereby requests to urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to, as a matter of urgency, establish, is it USP or IDP? IDP camp in Bena and render support to the effort of Kogi State government for the welfare of the IDPs. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer 2, the Senate urge the NSA and all agencies. All agencies, what? What is the all agencies involved in internal security at the moment to increase deployment of security agencies to reverse the ugly situation. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Point of order, Senator Betty Apiafi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Betty Apiafi. I represent Rivers West Senatorial District. I'm from Rivers State. Mr. President, I come under Order 42. If you permit me, I'd like to read.
Which order is that? Which order is that?
Order 42.
No, not order 42. It is supposed to be order 43.
I take order 43. But it's supposed to be a matter of urgent national importance. But if you say I take it as personal.
No, my discussion with you, we agreed it's supposed to be order 43, not 42. But if you insist, you can read 42, because I have to put the question anyway.
By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator might make a personal explanation, although there is no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. And I'd like to talk about the International Women's Day today. The International Women's Day was celebrated on the 8th of March. I'd like to also take Order 51, if you allow me present the motion today. I so move.
Sorry? I didn't hear that latter part. You cited order 43. So you go and do your explanation on order 43.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my motion is on the 2021 International Women's Day.
Distinguished, order 43 is personal explanation, not motion. Order 43 is personal explanation, not a motion. Because, sorry.
That's why I came under Order 42, Mr. President.
No, but we had a discussion. You and I discussed what we would do. So you can't, but if you choose to go to 42, it's okay, you can go to 42. It's okay, go to 42.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for being very gender friendly. So I go to Order 42, so can I take my motion? Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues.
No, you need to read Order 42 first.
Order 42. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse or allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. And Mr. President, I've approached you this morning, and you have given your approval. Thank you. And what I want to discuss this morning is about the 2021 International Women's Day. And if you allow me, I'll go to Order 51 and make my presentation.
If you read 42, it's the next legislative day, isn't it? Okay. Go to the next order.
Order 52. Order 52 says that notice shall not be dispensed with in case of a motion or in respect of any other proceedings for which notice is required, except the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. So I seek the consent.
Okay, you don't have any problem with mine, but we need the consent of our distinguished colleagues who are present. Those in favor of the motion moved by our colleague Senator Betty Apiafi that we give her the opportunity to present her motion. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Present your motion, please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my motion is on the 2021 International Women's Day. The Senate notes that International Women's Day is celebrated on the 8th of March every year. It is a day set aside globally to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. It is also a day to aspire and inspire people to act in the ongoing effort for gender equality. The day seeks to celebrate women's contribution to society and raise awareness about the fight for gender parity. Aware that this year's celebration has the theme, Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World, hashtag Choose to Challenge. Also aware that the 26th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and the theme for this year's Women's Day celebration seeks to challenge the world and an alert world from which challenges come and call out inequality. Further aware that the International Women's Day is a global celebration of women and their achievements, it is also a day to seek to raise the awareness on issues affecting women around the world, highlighting initiatives and campaigns focused on improving women's lives and increasing gender parity. The Senate also observes that, given the pandemic, we now more than ever before need to challenge pre-existing biases against women, some of which are systematic, political, cultural, and social. With the pandemic, we have new barriers which include an increase in domestic violence, unpaid care duties, unemployment, and poverty. We have to be intentional in about tackling these pre-existing and new biases to give women an opportunity to thrive. The Senate is further aware that women are at the forefront of the COVID-19 pandemic as healthcare workers, caregivers, innovators. Some of the most exemplary and effective national leaders in combating the pandemic were women. The pandemic has highlighted both the importance and contributions of women and the lopsided burden women carry. The Senate is concerned that at the national level, gender inequality still exists. For instance, there is a record of only one female governor in the history of Nigeria, few female deputy governors, the rest are always men. The 9th National Assembly in Nigeria has a record of only 8 female senators, while the rest are all men. Again, there are only 7 female ministers in Nigeria, which represent just about 15.9% of the entire 44 member male ministers, member ministerial list. This again reflects the need for gender equality. The Senate is convinced that we can all choose to challenge and call out gender biases and inequality. We can choose to challenge stereotypes, broader perspectives, improve situations, and celebrate women's achievements. Collectively, we can help create an inclusive world. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to urge employers of labor to give women equal opportunity, to allow women achieve their full potentials, to urge Nigerians to maintain a gender equal mindset and challenge gender stereotypes and biases. The 9th National Assembly is challenged to amend the Nigerian Constitution and include gender parity and enact laws that will improve the lot of Nigerian women and girls. The 9th Assembly is also challenged to change the laws that infringe on women's rights. Some of these laws are the Police Act, Federal Character Laws, Electoral Act, the Labor Act, and then, of course, political party constitutions. The 9th Senate is also challenged, and the federal government as well, to forge positive visibility for women and celebrate women's achievements. The Ninth Assembly is also urged to domesticate all conventions and treaties of the African Union and the United Nations in respect of gender issues. I so move.
Senator Oluremi Tinubu.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, my name is Oluremi Tinubu, representing Lagos Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion raised by my colleague, Senator Betty Afiafi, the chairman for Senate Committee on Women. And with this, I would like to celebrate and congratulate every Nigerian woman for a day set aside for us to be recognized. If not for a day like this, men generally would not know that we women do exist.
Use your mic, please.
Then they would never know that we exist.
Use your mic.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is a day like this that gladdens our hearts. In Africa, I won't say only in Africa, I know it's generally around the world, men have really taken upper hand all over the world. But for some places like America that we have seen has shown the light, for them to have the first female vice president, we celebrate that. But you see, these are just handful of women. We see a lot of women around the world that we can celebrate, presidents of nations, and even our own Ogoja ICT and Amina Mohammed. They are all doing great things. But when we look at all these women, it doesn't trickle down to the grassroots. Women who are the strength of this nation, I would even speak to. Yes. When it comes to politics, it is the women that will go around dancing in front of all these men that are in this Senate. Thank you, sir. But something gladdened my heart yesterday. If Mr. President doesn't mind for me to read this.
You may read. You may read it.
Well, let me just get the. Thank you. So I read this. This was sent to me. I salute the strength of a woman. A woman changes her name, changes her home, leaves her family, moves in with you, builds a home with you, gets pregnant for you. Pregnancy changes her body. She gets fat. Almost gives up in the labor room due to the unbearable pain of childbirth. Even the kids she delivers bear your name till the day she dies. Everything she does, cooking, cleaning your house, taking care of your parents, bringing up your children, earning, advising you, ensuring that you can be relaxed, maintaining all family relations, everything that will benefit you, from sometimes at the cost of our own health. Hobbies and beauty, everything is given to you. So who is really doing whom a favor? Dear men, appreciate the women in your lives always, because it is not easy to be a woman. Being a woman is priceless. Happy Women's Week. He said I should pass this to every woman to encourage them, and also to let the men celebrate the women in their lives. Having said that, when we look at what my chairman said today, how many women do we have in places to make decisions? We women know how we feel. What helps us? I remember when I came to this Senate the very first time. Most people didn't know what I was going through. I sit at the back. It takes me time to even warm up to do my legislative duty. People didn't realize that most of the time we get up, I was bleeding profusely. Nobody realized that. They thought I was just posing as the wife of Bola Tinubu sitting there. But I was trying to make sure that I get to the bathroom quickly, because at times I have to keep changing and changing. You don't know what we go through. How do you now make laws for us? A woman doesn't even have laws. And look at our children now. They are being kidnapped day in, day out. How do we now prepare for the future of these children? And as we speak, women are going to be endangered species democratically and even in politics. If laws are not put in place, when we bring in law to change anything that has to, I'm not talking about gender equity and equality now. I'm saying that our women, we have to come up with laws that all these men have to support us. You have wives, you have daughters, and some men, Senator Amosu today was telling us, oh, I have 4 daughters. But they're quickly marrying them to another man. Go and ship them somewhere, go and take care of them. But you see, to me, I'm 60 years old now. I get afraid of the quality of girls that are out there. Senator Smart moved a motion the other day. Remember, talking about girls you contributed to it. And we see, even when I open the social media, the way I see that girls are represented, it saddens me. They have become toys to get attention. So we have to do something so that the legacy of women like Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, strong women, Gambos Sawaba, different women that have done great things and great feats in this nation. We have to do something that our women will be really, really proud of the legacy we have left. As it is, our hands are tied. We can't even help them. Even in this Senate, when it comes to a motion or a bill that affects women, even the Constitution, we see the men voting against that. So we have to come up with legislation that will encourage more women to come in and participate in politics. As it is, we are in a developing country. So this is I won't call it a third world country, but we are still developing. So we are not there yet. So we have to do something to protect our girls, so that at the end of...
You may round up now, please.
How do you want them to even get education? So they are being frightened to even get any form of education. And once you are not educated, you are the most ignorant person. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you.
Distinguished Senator Professor Nora Ladi Dadut.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau South. Indeed, I am glad that our chairman, Senator Betty Apiefi, had moved this motion, and is very much relevant because we are still in the mood of celebrating the Women's International Day. I want to come from this other side in adding my voice to Senator Shade Tinubu, that the woman in her role has 3 specific and defined assignments. In her home, as a mother or as a daughter, in the public circle and within her own circle. You know, as a mother, she plays other roles, including the roles that are assigned to her by the man. The United Nations states that women make up 70% of the health sector. And where I'm coming from is the COVID-19 world, where we are now. The woman has actually played a very critical and important role in this pandemic world that we are experiencing. They bear much more burden in the home and in the public. And in the public, we talk about the woman who is underpaid because of perhaps her gender. And her role in her circle, the women themselves, as one family, they fight their own cause, and sometimes they see that the man is not very, very supportive. In any case, I don't want to argue on that, because we in this sector, we need the support of the men. And first of all, the woman who is struggling to support her family is the same woman that is underpaid because perhaps the man seems to underrate her participation. To finalize, I want to say that at the center of it all, it is the woman and the child that suffer in this pandemic world. They suffer more because they are more vulnerable. In this case, I want to also make my own contribution to this motion that we, the women, we need to also collaborate and partnership with the men in order to increase our own part of the contribution, and not just that, to be able to overcome the various challenges that we are facing. And finally, I think I am proud to be a woman, and I thank God for creating me a woman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Princess Stella Odwa.
Thank you, Mr. President, dear colleagues. My name is Stella Odwa. I'm the senator representing Anambra North. Mr. President, dear colleagues, I want to commend my chairman, Betty, for the wonderful motion she has presented. And I want to concur with all my dear sisters who have spoken before me. Mr. President, Nigerian statistics, as far as women population, that demography is concerned, says that we are 60%. Mr. President, just an analogy, when 60% of your body is not working and only 40% is working, I don't see the common sense in that. And so currently that is what is happening. Only 40% of the nation is actively being engaged without women participating. Mr. President, we must find a way to engage women, both in selective and elective positions. Mr. President, if you go to our communities today, men are not there. The custodians, the stakeholders within our rural communities today are women. The farmers in our rural communities today are women. Mr. President, is there any reason why women are not fully participating? Like Senator Tinubu asked, how can men take decisions on our behalf without knowing us? I think that would be a very uninformed decision. Mr. President, clearly it's very important that women issues, women activities should be mainstreamed. We need to fully participate. All women are asking for is an enabling environment. Women need to be empowered. Women need to be provided with enabling environment to enable women participate fully. Mr. President, every single one of us knows that when we were being brought up, the nurturing part of us, 70% of that was handled by our mothers. That shows you the innate skill, the innate strength that women have. Why is it that the nation and globally women are not being mainstreamed? Mr. President, I believe until such a time that women will be given her right place to help nurture this nation back to life, we will not have an economy that will be sustainable, because women are naturally good economists. For instance, a man that earns 30,000, he expects to eat good food. He expects that his children will go to school. Who plans all that? It is the woman. And so, Mr. President, I want to urge my colleagues, I want to urge the nation, particularly the national planners, to ensure that when they are planning, that women affairs must be mainstreamed, that women empowerment must be put in the main focus, that we must create an enabling environment where women can strive and show their innate skills and talents. Mr. President, I so submit.
Distinguished colleagues, let's go to the prayers. Accordingly, resolved to urge employers of labor to give women equal opportunities to allow women achieve their full potentials. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge Nigerians to maintain a gender equal mindset and challenge gender stereotypes and biases. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge the 9th National Assembly to amend the Nigerian Constitution to include gender parity and to enact laws that will improve the lot of women and girls in Nigeria. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Prayer 4, urge the 9th National Assembly to challenge and change laws that infringe on women's rights, Police Act, Federal Character Law, Electoral Act, Labor Act, political party constitutions. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Prayer 5, urge the 9th National Assembly and the federal government to forge positive visibility for women and celebrate women's achievements. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. And prayer 6, urge the 9th National Assembly to domesticate all conventions and treaties of the African Union, AU, in respect of gender issues. Those in favor of prayer 6 say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues, especially our female colleagues, for this motion. I deliberately recognized the female senators to speak because this is a motion that all of them sponsored. Even though all of us here are men, for she's, I believe that there's no deliberate way that men will ever do to undermine women. We came from mothers, we have daughters, we have wives, and I believe that we are together in this with our women. It's in the interest of our nation that we work together to give our women proper opportunities for them to also excel. And we must congratulate those that have already achieved so much in public space as well as in business. So with this, I want to thank everyone, and even though it's a bit late, 2 days after the 8th of March, but still, we congratulate Nigerian women, we congratulate the entire nation, and we believe that we have to do more to give our women more opportunities to serve. Distinguished Senator Tolu Odebi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Once again, my name is Tolu Odebi, and I represent Ogun West. Mr. President, permit me to rise under Order 42 and 52. And if you permit, I read. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of all the senators, the matter shall stand over till the next day. I hope in this case I will be able to present it today, Mr. President. And 52 says, notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present.
So I will have to put the question. Distinguished colleague, those in favor of the request of our colleague, Senator Tolu Odebi, that we allow him to move his motion today, having come under orders 42 and 52, say aye. Those against any other, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Today, I come to present a motion with regards to the urgent need to intervene in the flight of communities displaced and forced to seek refuge in Benin Republic as a result of the incessant attack by bandits and suspected herdsmen in Ogun State. Mr. President, you recall the recent spate of attacks by suspected bandits and herdsmen in communities in Yewa area of Ogun State. Note that many of these attacks by suspected herdsmen on the area remain perennial, owing to the near absence of police and other security personnel in the affected communities. Disturbed that these attacks have brought unquantifiable damage to facilities which will have ensured the welfare of the residents and inhabitants of these communities. Further disturbed that many communities, namely Asa, Oho, Agboro, Moro, Ibeko, Agbon Ojodu, were affected by the criminal activities of these suspected herdsmen. Aware that the countless attacks by these criminal elements have forced many residents of these areas have deserted and relocated to a refugee camp in Kogi, area of Benin Republic, in search of safety, with many of them forced to live in very unfavorable conditions in the refugee camps. Mr. President, it will interest you to note I visited some of these communities. All the women have fled. They've fled to the neighboring country, Benin Republic, and they are all living in these unfavorable conditions. Further aware that the position of the Nigerian Red Cross Society, which followed an informed on-the-spot assessment of the affected communities, was described by the Executive Secretary of the Society in Ogun State, Mr. Oluwole Abayode, as very serious disaster, a serious one of the highest order. Aware also that the Red Cross organization, the only recognized organization that has been proven intermittent, that have provided intermittent aid for these displaced persons, has had to issue out statements seeking assistance from well-meaning Nigerians for members of these affected communities. Disturbed that the state government alone cannot be left with the onerous task of resettling these displaced citizens. Hence, the need for support from the federal government to effectively return the affected citizens back to their various communities. Further disturbed that if the Benin Republic, that is a neighbor to Nigeria, could accommodate Nigerians in time of crisis, give them food and set up a refugee camp for them, Nigeria needs to positively step up on how we treat our citizens who are victims of an internally induced crisis. Concerned that if the nation is not urgently and properly attended to, it will undermine the country's international standing and credibility and cause an itch in our relations with our neighbor. Mr. President, the Senate seek accordingly resolves to call on the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, and the Border Community Development Agency to undertake an on-the-spot assessment of the affected communities with a view of determining the extent of the problem and provide relief to the affected persons. Call on the concerned authorities to pursue and put in place necessary mechanisms for the reparation and relocation of the affected peoples and the communities. And lastly, call on the authorities of the Nigerian Police Force to see to the provision of police posts and ensuring police presence in these communities so as to ensure security and rekindle the people's confidence in their government. I so move. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues.
Senator Ibukula Amosu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ibukula Amosu, I represent Ogun Central. Mr. President, I want to second the motion ably moved by the Senator Tolu Odebi. Mr. President, I will be very brief. All I will want to say is that the government shouldn't be tired of continue with this concerted effort to ensure that we resolve these security challenges that we are presently having. And I will want to just implore, according to some of the prayers in the motion, that we should do everything humanly possible to bring back those our citizens that have relocated, so I heard, and I saw the video too, that they are now in Republic of Benin. So the government will do everything humanly possible to make sure that they are brought back home, and we should get all the necessary security apparatus in place for them to be comfortable to stay within. So that would be my short comments and support for this motion. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, my name is Owole Rocha Sokrocha, Imo West. The happenings in the Southwest vis-a-vis issue of herdsmen has become a recurring decimal, and literally what we discuss almost every week at these red chambers. Mr. Senate President, I'm a bit concerned that this issue is gradually creating a wall of division in our country. Hence, the handling of this matter, we must be absolutely very careful in how we handle this matter. I rise to speak that a criminal remains a criminal in whatever form or shape he or she comes. We must learn to separate criminals from where they come from and deal with them as criminals, such that when we mention herdsmen, it does not look like a Fulani man attacking a Yoruba man. Or when we mention kidnappers, it does not mean that somebody from the south or southeast is attacking the north. Or when we mention Boko Haram, it does not look like a northerner is attacking the other. So we must be very careful, because this bunch of criminals are gradually finding their way in creating a wall of division. The unity of this country is very clear at this moment, and we must do everything to protect it. One thing that gives me concern is that I keep wondering that we do not have probably more than 50,000 criminals in this country from records that we've seen. But my question is, how can 50,000 criminals defeat 200 million people? It then means that the 50,000 criminals are united while the 200 million people are divided. We need to unite and be able to tag these criminals by their names and not by where they come from. In that case, we shall be winner in this battle. Thank you, Mr. President.
We'll go to the prayers. Prayer 1, call on National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, and the Border Communities Development Agency, BCDA, to undertake an on-the-spot assessment of the affected communities with a view to determining the extent of the problem and providing relief to the affected persons. Those in favor of prayer 1, say aye. Those against, say nay. Prayer 2, call on the concerned authorities to put in place necessary mechanism for reparation and relocation of the affected peoples and communities. Those in favor of prayer 2, say aye. Those against, say nay. And prayer 3, call on the authorities of the Nigerian Police Force to see to the provision of police posts and ensuring police presence in these communities so as to ensure security and rekindle the people's confidence. Those in favor of prayer 3, say aye. Those against, say nay. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Stella Adede Odua on the Renewable Energy Bill 2001 SB 27. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Renewable Energy Bill 2021 SB 27, first reading.
Renewable Energy Bill 2020 SB 27, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Uche Lilian Ekwonife on the National Agency for Technology Incubation Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Agency for Technology Incubation Establishment Bill 2021 SB 476, first reading.
National Agency for Technology Incubation Establishment Bill 2021 SB 476, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Mark Ademi on the School of Mines and Geological Studies, Kaba, Kogi State Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, School of Mines and Geological Studies, Kaba, Kogi State Establishment Bill 2021 SB 661, first reading.
School of Mines and Geological Studies, Kaba, Kogi State Establishment Bill 2021 SB 661, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Francis Ezenwa Onyewuchi on the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 662, first reading.
Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 662, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Nicholas Olubukola Tofohomo on the Bitumen Training Institute, or DIA, on those State Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Bitumen Training Institute, or DIA, on those State Establishment Bill 2021 SB 663, first reading.
Bitumen Training Institute, or DIA, on those State Establishment Bill 2021 SB 663, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the second reading of the Modibbo Adama University Yola Teaching Hospital Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was raised the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 23rd February 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Aishatu Ahmed Bunani to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Senator Aishatu Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. Aishatu Ahmed Binani, representing Adama Central. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, this bill seeks to amend the University Teaching Hospital Act number 1019885 to include an additional teaching hospital in Yola. This bill is a follow-up of my motion to upgrade the FMC Yola to a university teaching hospital, which was passed on the 11th of July 2019 after a unanimous decision by this Hallowed Chamber. And the motion, I drew the attention of this Red Chamber to the precarious health condition of my people that necessitates the presence of a teaching hospital. These conditions have far-reaching consequences that affect anyone in the state. Conditions such as the proximity of a teaching hospital to Adamawa State in terms of distance, time, and money is one of the major hindrances that have contributed to the poor health care delivery in the state. Unlike other states where citizens can reach those services within a distance of 100 kilometers, Adamawa State residents, many of whom are very low-income earners, are compelled to travel over 344 kilometers to Bauchi, 400 kilometers to Maiduguri, 500 kilometers to Jos, and 800 kilometers to Abuja to access these healthcare services. Considering that farming and grazing are the major occupation of the people, the financial implications of reaching such medical care is beyond them. As a result, it has become commonplace for citizens to give up on loved ones to die from preventable diseases, either at home, on the way, or a few hours after arriving lower hospitals. Consequently, preventable hospital deaths have become one of the problems confronting the people of Adamawa State. It is on record that the maternal mortality rate at FMC Yola is higher, that's 7.2% than the national average of 5.7%, with most deaths occurring within 24 hours of admission. This is in addition to the ever-increasing under-5 mortality rate and other preventable deaths resulting from high-risk epidemic outbreaks involving malaria, Lassa fever, acute watery diarrhea, acute respiratory infection, measles, yellow fever, meningitis, cholera, malnutrition, etc. At the presence of a teaching hospital can ameliorate. Additionally, the growing population of the people has outmatched the medical care services provided in the state. Presently, there are about 11 specialists, physicians, and surgeons to about 4 million people compared to about 105 specialist physicians and surgeons to 5 million people in Borno, about 80 medical officers cum residents to 4 million in Adama as against 108 to 5 million in Borno. The presence of a teaching hospital in Yola will provide the medical facilities, specialist physicians and surgeons, residents, medical officers cum doctors, and trained student doctors to take charge of most needed services. Adamawa State 4 million population compares favorably with the population of Abia and Ebonyi State with 3 million and 2 million respectively, which already have teaching hospitals. More so, the commencement of taught medical courses at Modibbo Adama University make the establishment of a teaching hospital a necessity for both teachers and students. This bill, when passed, will have no immediate financial burden on the federal government treasury, as the facilities for the immediate takeoff of the proposed Modibbo Adama Teaching Hospital in Yola already are in place. The Federal Medical Center has over 250 beds, which is over and above University of Uyo's 250 beds at the time of its transformation to a teaching hospital. Minimal financial input is required since the hospital already has 20 specialists in different fields, including intern doctors, pharmacists, and laboratory scientists. Fully equipped laboratory services, including histopathology, physiotherapy, ethology, orthopedic, and hematology. The presence of a university teaching hospital is desirable. Understanding that such federal services will usher in business and employment opportunity to the large number of unemployed youth in the states. I call on you to therefore unanimously support this bill as you did the motion in order to reduce the cries and suffering of my people, the people of Adamawa State. Thank you for your usual support.
Senator Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. First of all, may I commend Senator Aisha Binani for presenting this bill to us. For us in Taraba State, is a catchment area for this university teaching hospital. And in Taraba today, we have only one federal medical center, and therefore yearning for more medical facilities and more medical students being taught for the purpose of serving not just Adamawa State, but also Taraba State. So for us, we are grateful that this bill is coming at these auspicious hours. A lot of us may not know what we go through in those states, Adamawa and Taraba. Quote and unquote, they are rural states in terms of medical facilities, medical training, medical personnel. So this bill is up to serve the population of both Adamawa and Taraba State. I therefore stand up to support this bill, or the second reading of the bill, and I ask my colleagues to also support the second reading of this bill.
Senator Okono.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Tony Yanyapwebom South Senatorial District. I rise to support my distinguished colleague for leading this debate on the establishment of Modibbo Adama University Teaching Hospital. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the importance of having a teaching hospital in every state across the nation is a necessity, very important, because the advantages of having such an institution cuts across the economy, the employment opportunity, but most importantly, having the facility to tackle ailments and provide medical services to the indigent, leaving people, patients, to travel long distances to access medical services can cause a loss of life for a small ailment that could have been handled immediately by specialists. And therefore, this bill, as explained by my distinguished colleague here, does not or will not carry much financial implication. It will be that of upgrading the already established facility in Yola. I therefore will want to join my colleagues to support this bill. to go through the second reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this bill wholeheartedly because there is no number of teaching hospitals or any health facility in Nigeria, creation of new health facilities in Nigeria that is too much at this time. The economy cannot be good when the health system, healthcare delivery is very poor. So, giving Modibbo Adama the status of a teaching hospital, I think it will go a long way in getting our professionals being trained to come out and deliver these health services that we all require. The dearth of medical practitioners in this country today is something that we must all look at with every seriousness. So I sincerely support this bill, and I call on all my colleagues to also support for the creation of Modibbo Adama Teaching Hospital. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. My very distinguished colleagues. My name is Tudu Alkali. I represent Gombe North. Mr. President, this is one bill that does not need any debate. We have all agreed that health is wealth. We have seen the effect of COVID-19 due to our poor healthcare facility. As it is, Mr. President, the Federal Teaching Hospital Gombe is overstretched with patients from Adamawa and Taraba State. Adamawa is a population of over 4 million. Without a teaching hospital, this is very, very alarming. So, Mr. President, with this few remarks, I think I will request my distinguished colleague that we allow the bill to be read the second time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I'm Michael Okpeyemi Bamidele. I represent the Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I also join in supporting this bill, and I adopt the various reasons already cited by our other colleagues who are in support of the bill without having to repeat any of them. However, Mr. President, I seek clarification because it is important that some of us here must continue to also guide the process as much as possible when debates like this take place. I have an order paper that talks about establishment bill as being the issue on the floor. And I have a lead debate that seeks to get support of this Senate for a bill to amend the University Teaching Hospital Act. So there's a difference between an establishment bill and an amendment bill. It is my assumption, and I'm in support of it, that what the sponsor is seeking is to have a teaching hospital established as prayed in the bill. However, when it comes to an amendment bill, it is another ball game altogether. It is like me asking for a state to be created through an act, through an alteration of the Constitution, and simultaneously also asking that the Constitution be amended to include the name of the 37th state when that amendment had actually not been done, creating a new state. So, Mr. President, it's important that we seek clarification before this second reading is done. And it's also important that the clerk of the Senate will be clear as to what we are passing. Are we calling for a second reading of a bill seeking for the establishment of this teaching hospital in Yola? Or this bill is about amending the Teaching Hospital Amendment Act, because they are two different things. And I think this clarification will be able to guide us as to how next to proceed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Abdullah Adamu Turaki.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I am Senator Abdullah Adamu, and I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District in the National Assembly. I rise, Mr. President, to lend my support to this lead debate presented by distinguished Senator Aisha Ahmed Binai, the Gimbia of Adamawa, on the issue of the establishment of a teaching hospital for Modibbo Adama University. Mr. President, the statistics, essential statistics presented by the mover of this does show clearly the need that there is for us as the Senate to take every step necessary to support the bill so that the proposed teaching hospital will be realized. A situation in which the patient statistics from Adamawa to a neighboring state, Gombe, standing as high as this debate is presenting is very alarming and very disturbing. If you take the statistics of patients from Adamawa that go to Taraba for the same purpose of getting service of a teaching hospital, it is also very alarming. So all we need to do is to accept the notion that what this bill seeks to do is to convert the Federal Medical Center, which already exists in Yola, to a university teaching hospital. As the lead debate clearly shows, there is hardly any expenditure that this bill will bring upon the existing financial setting, for the establishment of such a medical center, a teaching hospital, by having it take over the functions, the staff and everything, the buildings, infrastructure of the Federal Medical Center to be converted to that of the new university if we are able to act together to pass this bill. By promoting the passage of this bill, we seek to stand shoulder to shoulder with our people, our sisters and brothers from Adamawa State, who desperately need this teaching hospital to overcome the problems associated with tertiary medical facilities available in that state. I so support this lead debate for the establishment of a teaching hospital in Modibbo Adama University.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Baroji Bray. I represent Kano North in this August Senate. Mr. President, I support this bill, and I urge my colleagues to support this bill, because anything that has to do with the establishment of a teaching hospital, any health institution in this country should be welcomed by all and sundry, because that will help to close the gap in respect of the number of personnel we need to run our healthcare system in this country. As we speak, there's a very big gap. The number of personnel we have, they are not up to, not even up to the half of the required number. So what you need to do is to train and teach anyone who wants to be a healthcare delivery professional, so that we can close this gap. And in particular, the request made by this bill is not only, it should be supported, it's appropriate, it's necessary, because of the peculiar situation in Adamawa State, which has been captured in the lead debate. They need this teaching hospital. And apart from that, we spend a lot of money, Mr. President, in medical tourism in this country every year. People traveling out of Nigeria to go and seek medical attention all over the world. The more we have this hospital, the more we have teaching hospitals, specialized hospital has been sought by this bill, the better. The more the merrier. So it's really important, and I support, well, you see, it's good to commend Senator Aisha. Last week she brought a motion that had to do with the resuscitation of a moribund healthcare facility in a senatorial zone. Now she's bringing this. So she needs to be commended for taking the healthcare system of our people, so important, just like any one of us here takes the healthcare delivery system in his zone, very important. So we need to support her and support the establishment of this teaching hospital, not only for the betterment of the people of Adamawa State, but for the betterment of the people of the entire Nigeria. I so submit this.
Senator Belosaro.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to lend my voice to this lead debate that is calling for the establishment or conversion of the FMC Yola to a teaching hospital attached to the university, Modibbo Adama University Yola. Mr. President, I must commend my distinguished colleague for this bill. This bill brings to a full cycle the efforts she has done to improve the health facilities in Adamawa State. At the beginning, she brought a motion to allow Modibbo Adama University of Technology to run courses in medicine. Then she brought a bill to convert that university to a conventional university. Conversion of that university to a conventional university will allow it to run courses in medicine. Now she has brought a bill that will provide Modibbo Adama University a teaching hospital which will support the course that it will run in medicine. Mr. President, this is very important because without a teaching hospital, you cannot be able to run courses in medicine successfully. So I support this bill, the second reading of this bill, and I again commend distinguished Senator Aisha Binani for bringing this bill. And I must also commend all my colleagues that have all spoken in support of this bill. And I urge all of us to support it. Thank you.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a teacher hospital for the Modibbo Adama University Yola and for other matters connected therewith 2021 SB 630 first, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a teaching hospital for the Modibbo Adama University Yola and for other matters connected there with 2021 second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Senate Committee on Health to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the second reading of the Insurance Act Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 24th November 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ebikule Amosu to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Ebikule Amosu.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ibikunle Amosun. I represent the Central. Mr. President, I rise to move to lead the debate on the Insurance Act Amendment Bill 2021 SB 578. I so move, Mr. President.
May I proceed?
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I thank you most sincerely for the privilege to lead the debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act 2003 in order to set a minimum limit of compensation in the event of death, injury, or loss of property of third party with respect to insurance of public buildings and buildings under construction and for related matters 2021. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you will recall that the bill was first read on the floor of the Senate on Tuesday, 24th November 2020. The need for the amendment of this bill was necessitated by the prevalence of collapsed buildings in many Nigerian cities, which had led to unquantifiable loss of lives and property as well as permanent disability. There has been an increase in the cases of collapsed buildings in the country, most especially in the last 10 years. The underlisted are few of such cases. 1. A 3-story residential school building on Mercy Street, Itafaji area of Lagos Island in March 2019, with 20 lives lost and 43 others injured. 2. A building under construction located at number 9, Ezenwa Street, Onitsha, left no fewer than 6 persons dead. Number 3, Lekki building collapse. In March 2016, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, a 5-story building under construction at Lekki Gardens in Lekki Phase 1 area of Lagos State collapsed, killing no fewer than 34 persons and injuring several others. Number 4, a 6-story guest house belonging to a church in the Ikotun area of Lagos State in September 2014 collapsed, trapping about 300 people, out of which over 100 were said to have lost their lives. Number 5, Umahia building collapse, May 2013. The building was under construction in the Agbama area of Umahi, Abia State. It collapsed and it was reported that about 7 people sadly lost their lives. Number 6, Abu Naima Primary School and Secondary School, Burukus, Jos South Local Government Area of Plateau State, collapsed in September 2013, resulting to the death of 10 pupils, mostly below 10 years old. Number 7, a 4-story uncompleted building located in Ikoli Street off Gimbia Street, Area 2, Gaki, Abuja, collapsed in August 2010, leading to the death of 21 persons and injuring many more. And finally, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the collapse of the Titanic building at Igutemeta in July 2006, which had a block of 36 flats, with an estimated 180 people, led to the death of 20 people. These cases and several others, too numerous to mention, are considered as some of the worst incidences of collapsed buildings in Nigeria in recent times. The need to checkmate these rising cases prompted the urgent need to amend the Insurance Act. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, This bill is proposed to ensure compliance with the compulsory insurance of public buildings and buildings under construction by relevant stakeholders in Nigeria, thereby addressing the limitations of the current law, particularly in respect of inadequate penalty against any persons, group of persons, entity liable for building collapse, and non-existing provision on the minimum sum to be insured for a building under construction. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the bill seeks in a nutshell to address the following. 1, to provide security as a remedy for victims of collapsed buildings. Number 2, to fill the gap in the failure to provide for limits of liability in respect of third-party liability in compulsory insurance of public buildings under construction. Number 3, to provide adequate penalty provisions in line with current socio-economic realities for contravention of the law. And finally, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to restore the glory of the insurance industry, which is characterized by gaps in addressing the multiple risks in construction industry. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I seek to make the following specific amendments to the existing law. Number 1, Section 64(1), the phrase "any building of more than 2 floors" need to be simplified to read, the phrase should be specified to read "building of more than 1 story." Section 64(3), also, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, which says inadequate penalty in contravention of the law, which attracts a mere fine of 250,000 or 3 months imprisonment of both, should now be amended to read the penalty should be made stiffer. That is, fine of 500,000 or 3 years imprisonment or both. And finally, Mr. President, there is no provision of minimum sum insured. I'm suggesting that minimum sum insured should be fixed at 2 million, or as probably the Senate will ultimately decide. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the significance of this amendment is as follows. 1, to protect the rights and interests of victims of collapsed building. Number 2, to restore public trust and confidence in the insurance industry, which is considered by many Nigerians as a non-performer in claim settlement. Number 3, this will help to instill a sense of discipline in the construction industry. Number 4, it will give effect to the constitutional provision that guarantees right to life. And finally, it will make our laws to be in conformity with international best practices. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I respectfully crave your indulgence and support for the speedy passage of this very important bill. Thank you for the consideration and kind attention. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Bolai will now.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. First, I rise to second the second reading of this bill, heavily sponsored by my brother. But I wish to further make some observations. I had the privilege of reading insurance law, and the amendment sought appears to be a little bit at variance with the necessary intendment of the amendment, and it therefore means at committee level there is the need for further consideration. For example, this amendment only seeks to compensate those who lose their lives in building collapse-related incidences, and that has to do with what is called public buildings. But Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, I think our responsibility first is to ensure that we make provision for these buildings not even to collapse, talk less of paying insurance claim in respect of those who will get injured by their collapse. But you know that compensation is a function of premium. So until we make provision again for raising the premium to be charged based on the floors to be established in public buildings, we may run into problem again into getting adequate compensation for the victims. So I think at committee level, there is the need for the committee to do an in-depth job so that the good intention of this bill can be reflected in the final draft to be brought for consideration by the Senate. In conclusion, Mr. President, I think this is an opportunity to thank my brother for thinking along this line, more especially having reeled out the entire recital of public building collapse and the casualties over a very long period of time. I therefore urge my colleagues that this is so straightforward that the meat of the bill can best be addressed at the committee level than argument on the floor of the Senate. And I therefore urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill as moved by my brother. Thank you.
Senator Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. I'm Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf Taraba Center. I must commend the amendment, of this act, and also commend Senator Amosun for bringing up this. I support it 100%, and also want to add the insurance industry in this country is comatose, and it's supposed to be a prime mover of this economy. But somehow, the funding of the insurance by payment of premiums to create long-term funding for managing the economy of this country is not there. But this is one of the gaps that is going to be filled by amending, the existing law. So I urge my colleagues, after supporting the second reading of this bill, to also at the committee level to look at it, all areas that we can look into, especially if it goes to public hearing, so that we can create a vibrant, insurance industry in this country, so that we can create long-term funding, for our capital market and other markets in this country. I so support the second reading of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is anybody against the bill? You are against the bill? Okay, you can contribute if you wish to.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Aisha Tudairu Ahmed Binani, representing Adama Central. Mr. President, the causes of building collapse in Nigeria are numerous, and some are due to negligence in the areas, in the most vital areas in construction, such as poor soil investigation, use of substandard building materials, poor monitoring, untrained workmanship, ineffective implementation of strategies by the insurance companies, non-compliance to building regulations, and so many man-made causes are responsible for incessant building collapse, and to some extent waste of precious lives. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the amendment of this law, the existing law, is mandatory to achieve two things. One is to improve in the enforcement level of the provisions of the Act. Secondly, is to equally improve in the implementation compliance of the insurance companies, that is NICOM. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I'm supporting this bill on three bases. First, whenever the proceeds of a crime or offenders or proceeds for non-compliance of provision of an act has far outweighed the penalty, offenders are encouraged to become recalcitrant, that is doing it over again, because the penalty, the proceeds is far less than the distinct penalty. Secondly, Mr. President, the absence of the provision or the absence of a legal provision or ambiguity, Mr. President, offenders tend to hide under these areas of lacunas or ambiguity, lacunas and ambiguity to perpetrate those offenses, because like what he suggested in his lead debate, replacing flaws with level has made it very clear that will prevent offenders from intending offenders, and also it makes it clear for justice to be carried out when confirmed cases occurred. Thirdly, Mr. President, the number of uncompensated victims of building collapse in Nigeria is high and is growing by the day. So the earlier we set in stiffer conditions, the better for the nation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act 2003 to set minimum standard of compensation in the event of death, injury, or loss of property of third parties with respect to insurance of public building under construction and for related matters, 2021, SB 578, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act 2003 to set minimum limit of compensation in the event of death, injury, or loss of property of third parties with respect to insurance of public buildings under construction and for related matters, 2021, second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the NDE Act, Cap N28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 Amendment Bill 2021. The distinguished senator will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 15th December 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the distinguished Senator Kabir Abdullahi Barkia to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Engineer Kabir Abdullahi Barkia, Katana Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I rise to move motion to lift the debt on the Nigerian Director of Employment Act CAP number 28 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2020 SD 605. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to lead the debt on the Nigerian Director of Employment Amendment Bill 2020, which was read on the floor of the Senate for the first time on Tuesday, December 15, 2020. Over the years, since its establishment in 1986, the Nigerian Director of Employment has provided a platform for young entrepreneurs and even the elderly population to learn a vocation and become financially independent. The objective of this directorate, as contained in the 1987 President budget speech, was to concentrate its effort on the activation of public works, promotion of self-employment, organization of artisans into cooperatives, and encouragement of a culture of maintenance and repairs. It is on this premise and that the programs of the Directorate are based NDE 2000-2001. The Directorate has since 1986 grown into nationwide institution whose impact is felt by every sector. To design and implement programs to combat unemployment. To articulate policies aimed at developing work programs with labor-intensive potential. To collect and maintain a data bank on employment and vacancies in the country with a view to acting as clearinghouse to link job seekers with existing vacancies in collaboration with other government agencies. To implement any other policies as may be laid down from time to time by the board established under Section 3 of this Enabling Act. To sustain economic development in Nigeria through job creation. To be a vehicle for economic development through combating of unemployment in Nigeria. The directorate consists of National Advisory Council and Management Board, which gives guidelines for the management of the affairs of the directorate. In the current Act 3.2, the board shall consist of chairman, who shall be the Minister of Employment, Labor and Productivity. In this Act, referred to as the Minister, and 14 other members to be appointed by the President on the recommendation of the Minister, that A, a representative of the Nigerian University Commission, B, a representative of National Board for Technical Education, C, a successful private farmer, D, a representative of the private sector, E, one representative each of the following ministries, that is, agriculture and rural development, water resources, industry. F, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Employment, Labor and Productivity. G, representative of the Directorate of Food, Road and Rural Infrastructure. H, representative of financial institutions. I, representative of the Nigerian Employers and Consultative Association. J, representative of the Nigerian Labour Congress. K, two other persons to be nominated by the minister to represent the interests not otherwise represented and the Director General of the Directorate. The bill intends to provide for the position of the chairman of the board to be appointed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who will take over the function of presiding over the board as presently carried out by the Minister of Labor, as stipulated in the existing Act. Sections relating to the Minister as chairman of the board will be amended to provide for a substantive chairman. Some of the following reasons are: 1, for an agency with direct impact on the unemployed labor force, check and balances require that a minister who supervises the board of an agency under him cannot be the chairman of the same board. He can't be supervising himself. 2, the agency is creation of act. Hence, it has own legal identity. The minister, as a head of the whole ministry, can provide policy guidelines without being a member of the board. The chairman provides leadership to the board and acts as a direct liaison between the minister and the agency. 3, in our jurisdiction, agencies have their own board and chairman, different and distinct from the minister, who is the head of the whole ministry. For example, FEMA, SMEDIN, NEXIM, TSC, FAN, and MPC, ETC. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, the proposed bill which provides for a substantive chairman of the NDE will make the board more innovative and more result-oriented. It doesn't take away the supervisory role of the Ministry for Employment, Labor and Productivity over the agency. The bill, when passed, has no financial implication on the country. Thank you, Mr. President and my colleagues.
Senator Engineer Abdullahi Brangobir.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. I rise to support this bill because of its importance, particularly the NDE, which is Nigerian Directorate for Employment. Its activities in this country
cannot be overemphasized because it's doing quite a lot, training a lot of people, producing very skilled manpower for this country. And I think if you look at the amendment he's talking about here in this bill, is the question of getting a substantive chairman rather than having a minister to be the chairman of this NDE, on the board of NDE. I think it's a straightforward issue. There is need for us to look at that issue so that the person who is going to be there will look at it dispassionately, irrespective of whether he or she is affected as a minister. But if you have a minister there supervising this issue, it's his own ministry. You know, it's a parastatal within, it's an agency within his own ministry. And in that kind of situation, there might be some kind of nepotism consideration, or at least some feeling that, yes, this is my place and this is what I'm going to do. But if you have somebody outside, in fact, that person is going to look at it dispassionately and then take a decision that is going to affect this country positively rather than negatively. So I therefore support this, and I urge everybody here to support this because it's very, very important that we get a substantive chairman rather than the minister to be the chairman of the board of NDE. Thank you very much.
Anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, saying it, I say aye. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the National Directorate of Employment Act, Cap N28, laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and for other related matters there in 2021, SB 605, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the National Directorate of Employment Act, Cap N28, laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and for other related matters therein, 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Labor and Productivity to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the Institute of Information and Communication Technology, Ogoja Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Thursday, 11 February 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Stephen Adi-Ode to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Stephen Adi-Ode.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Stephen Adi-Ode. I represent the good people of Cross River North. Mr. President, I rise to lead a debate on the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Institute of Information and Communication Technology, Ogoja. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to lead the debate on this very important bill, which was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Thursday, 11th February 2021. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, information and communication technology cannot be overlooked in the 21st century without their consequences. The world has long moved from an analog model to a digital one, and this digitalization of human activities keep assuming different dimensions daily with the launch of diverse computer software and programs. In order not to lag behind, Nigeria must pay particular attention to the development of information and communication technology, ICT. The government of Nigeria, the private sector, and Nigerians spend humongous amount of money yearly to purchase software and maintain social network accounts developed by youth of other nations. Apart from being a risk to our digital safety, this is another means through which our scarce foreign reserve gets depleted. In recognition of the impact of digital economy in the global stage, the Ministry of Communication was renamed Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy on 17th October 2019 by President Muhammadu Buhari. President Buhari has taken a path which we must follow. Our nation is not short of youths who can be trained to become professionals in area of information and communication technology. We must ensure that we provide a conducive atmosphere for such specialized training in order to assist them in solving our local problems in particular ways and in exporting their talent to other nations, which will in turn positively impact on our economy. This bill seeks to establish the Institute of Information and Communication Technology, Ogoja, which shall be vested with the following powers among others. 1, to provide full-time and part-time courses in information and communication technology, engineering, technology, applied sciences, management sciences, and other fields of study leading to the award of ordinary national diploma, higher national diploma, and certificates in specialized programs. 2, provide facilities and encourage research in all these areas of focus to aid the development of Nigeria in the area of industry, commerce, technology, and engineering. 3, to provide a well-developed and articulate technical education through consistent research, development, and constant contact with renowned institutions and appropriate industries. And 4, to provide appropriate training and vocational dexterity for a self-reliant and focused Nigerian student, and also to provide industrial skills for those who want to be employers of labor or gainfully employed. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to further underscore the importance of this bill, in his contribution to the debate on a similar bill brought by my distinguished colleague, Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, on the floor of this hallowed chambers, Senator Smart Adeyemi pointed out that it is imperative that an ICT institute be established in all the 6 geopolitical zones of this country. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the world has gone digital and we must act fast to advance with the world. For the Ogoja people in Cross River North Senatorial District, and indeed all Nigerian youths and job seekers, the establishment of this institute will solve myriad of problems such as creating employment opportunities for our teeming youth, aside the conducive atmosphere to advance in the ICT world. Ogoja is being ravaged by poverty and underdevelopment. Having been constantly deprived of the opportunity of becoming a state, in spite of being one of the first provinces in Nigeria, our poverty situation is there. The establishment of this institution will ease their burden to a reasonable extent. Taking into cognizance our growing need to tap into the advantages offered by ICT and the need for the nation to move with the times, I urge all highly respected, distinguished colleagues to do all that we can possibly, can do to set up specialized institutions to cater for our information and communication sector. I believe very strongly that posterity will be kind to us if we decide to take this path. ICT is the trending best practice the world over, and an institute specially designated for this purpose should be a welcome development. In line with Order 77 Sub 3 of the Senate Standing Order 2015 as amended, a compendium of the financial implication of the establishment of the institute is hereby attached. Flowing from all that I have said, I therefore most humbly solicit your support for the second reading of this bill. Thank you immensely, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.
Senator Yarobinos.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Binos Dauda Yaro,
Senator representing Adama South. I rise to support the motion for the second reading of this bill, as so articulately presented by my distinguished colleague in his lead debate. Mr. President, I have said it on this floor a number of times that there are three key sectors that the country must focus on if you want to diversify our economy and get more revenue for the country and save foreign exchange. These three sectors are the ICT, solid minerals, and agriculture. Mr. President, as the lead debater so clearly stated, it is important for us to establish institutions that will provide manpower, that will drive development in these sectors. And again, as he cited the contribution of our colleague, Senator Smart Adeyemi, in his presentation in a previous session of this Senate, we should, as a policy, drive for the establishment of ICT schools in each of the zones of the country. And I believe that the proposal for the establishment of this school in Ogoja is the one that is being recommended for the South-South. So, Mr. President, from this point, we know that we are going to the right direction. So, for this reason, I totally support the second reading of this bill, and I urge my colleagues to do so. Thank you.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Institute of Information and Communication Technology, Ogoja, and for other matters connected there with 2021 SB 621, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Institute of Information and Communication Technology, Ogoja, and for other matters connected there with 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and third fund to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Jibrin Isa on the urgent need for the rehabilitation of Shintaku and Yegba Road to enhance the revitalization of commercial activities and boost economic development. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Jibrin Isa to move the motion.
Senator Jibrin Isa.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I am Isa Jibrin, representing the very good people of Kogi East. Mr. President, the federal government, so many years ago, constructed this road in good faith, linking Kogi East with the state capital, Lokoja. But as it is today, the road is in a very deplorable situation, and it calls for urgent federal government attention. The Senate knows that Shintaku and Yegba Road in Kogi State is a federal road and one of the best land transportation routes, which links the southern and northern parts of the country. Further knows that Shintaku and Yegba Road is boosted by the Lokoja-Shintaku waterway, which takes about 20 minutes by ferry from Lokoja to Shintaku, and about 40 minutes from Shintaku to Ayangba, making a total of about 55 minutes from Lokoja to Ayangba in Kogi East. Informed that the population of citizens along Shintaku and Yegba route is about 1.2 million, with major commercial activities in major towns along the route, which provides employment opportunities for many with the attendant reduction in crime rate in those towns. Further informed that apart from trading, farming is a major occupation of citizens within the area, resulting in commercial production of watermelon, yam, cassava, carrot, cucumber, beans, rice, sugarcane, and fish, amongst others. Worried that the Shintaku-Anyiba Road is now in a highly deplorable state, thereby negatively affecting water transportation from Lokoja to Shintaku, with commuters now resorting to the longer Lagos-Abeokuta route that takes about 3 hours. Regrets that there is massive unemployment within the area due to dwindling commercial activities arising from the deplorable state of the road, and this is fueling the rate of crime in the area. Concerned that the deplorable condition of road now provides a safe haven for criminals, as cases of armed robbery and kidnapping are being reported along the route on almost daily basis. Convinced that there is an urgent need for the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, FEMA, to embark on immediate maintenance of the Shintaku-Anyiba Road to boost economic activities, facilitate transportation of farm produce, and reduce crimes in the axis. And further convinced that maintenance of the Shintaku-Anyiba Road will revive water transportation from Lokoja to Shintaku, which will provide more employment opportunities and improve the standard of living of the people in the axis. The Senate accordingly resolves to mandate the Senate Committee on FEMA to urgently liaise with FEMA for immediate rehabilitation of the Shintaku-Anyiba Road in Kogi State and report back to the Senate within 3 weeks. I so move, Mr. President.
Anybody? Okay, Senator Sadiq Umar Suleiman.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I am Sadiq Sulaiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North, and we all are. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion ably moved by Senator Issa Jibrin Kogi for the urgent need for the rehabilitation of Shintaku-Anyiba Road to enhance revitalization of commercial activities and boost economic development. I so second, Mr. President.
We go to the press. Okay. There is only a prayer. Mandate the Senate Committee on FEMA to urgently liaise with FEMA for immediate rehabilitation of the Shintaku-Anyiba Road in Kogi State and report back to the Senate within 3 weeks. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against any ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Solomon Olamilekan Adiola and 7 others on the urgent need for palliative repairs and total reconstruction of Lagos-Abeokuta Express Road. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Solomon Olamilekan Adiola to move the motion.
Distinguished Senator Adiola Solomon Olamilekan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague, Adiola Solomon Olamilekan, representing Lagos West Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the motion before us today is a motion on urgent need for palliative repairs and total reconstruction of Lagos-Abeokuta Express Road, which was co-sponsored by 7 other distinguished senators of the Senate. The Senate notes that over the years, the state of disrepair of major roads in Nigeria has been a cause for concern for all patriotic Nigerians desirous of alleviating the suffering of majority of the people. The Senate aware that since the dawn of our nascent democracy in 1999, all Appropriation Act passed by the National Assembly contains provision and budgetary allocation for road maintenance, road reconstruction, completion of ongoing road projects, and construction of new roads. The Senate alarmed that the vast stretches of once motorable and busy Lagos-Abeokuta express road from Surulere through Mushin, Oshodi, Agege Motor Road, Alagbado, onward in Lagos State to Ota, Ifo, Papalanto, Ewekoro, Itoriwa Simi, Obadaoko, and Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, has totally collapsed without any signs or signal for palliative repairs, rehabilitation or reconstruction from agencies charged with the road maintenance, repairs and construction. The Senate further aware that the road is of vital socio-economic importance not only to the people of Lagos and Ogun State, but all Nigerians, as it leads to the foremost Nigerian industrial manufacturing hub with the highest number of industries, including heavy-duty industries like Dangote Cement Industry at Ibeshi, the Lafarge Cement Industry at Ewekoro, Dufil Food, makers of Indomie noodles, Nestle, Honda, among others, as well as educational and religious institutions as the Covenant University Ota, Bell University Ota, and Winners Chapel. The Senate regrets that thousands of our citizens and hundreds of articulated vehicles are daily held up for hours in traffic gridlock for up to 6 hours at a stretch for a journey that ordinarily would have lasted not more than 30 minutes, all resulting in huge loss of man hours. Untold suffering, accident, and unfavorable business environment for the teeming industry in the axis. The Senate concerned that the expressway that is supposed to be a major alternative to the usually congested Lagos-Ibadan expressway is in such a state of total neglect and disrepair. The Senate further aware that the then Federal Ministry of Works and Housing in May 2018 announced a program of rehabilitation of Lagos-Abeokuta expressway through an award of 2.5 years contract of 22.838 billion to Julius Berger PLC, but nothing was done to make any difference on this critical road today. The Senate further notes that recently the Federal Road Safety Commission made a passionate appeal to the federal government for palliative measures to reduce the untold hardship, accident, and robberies that are traceable to the completely collapsed section of the Lagos-Abeokuta Express Road. The Senate further observed that if no immediate remedial measures is put in place, now pending total reconstruction, the industry along the axis will be completely cut off from accessing raw materials from Lagos Seaport and transporting finished goods to and from Lagos and everywhere. The Senate deeply saddened that even as we speak, thousands of our people are on agonizing hardship as a result of the deplorable state of this critical infrastructure. The Senate accordingly resolved to 1. Request the Federal Ministry of Works and FEMA to immediately put in motion machinery to temporarily rehabilitate the road pending its total reconstruction to reduce the hardship and suffering of our people. 2. Mandate the Committee on Federal Ministry of Works and FEMA to request for a status report from FEMA and the Federal Ministry of Works in terms of budgetary allocation and repairs, maintenance, and the extent of work done over the years with allocated funds. 3. The Senate mandate the Federal Ministry of Works to include further funding for the reconstruction of Lagos-Abeokuta Express Road in the next appropriation bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I so submit.
Senator Tolu Odebi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this motion ably moved by my colleague, Senator Adjournment. Mr. President, the Abeokuta-Ota Road is a road I'm quite familiar with, and it's a road that I have met with the Honorable Minister for Works on the matter. Mr. President, the issue they have is budgetary issues, and I met also with the MD of Julius Berger that's supposed to be doing the road. Out of a project that is supposed to cost about 30-40 billion, I think they said they've only gotten about 3 or 4 billion naira so far. So what the MD of Julius Berger said was that they are only focusing on a little bit in around E4 area to do some palliative works. I did explain to the Honorable Minister for Works, and obviously he did explain because of the paucity of funds. But having said that, I think the motion is quite timely because the volume of people that travel on that road is enormous. And because of also all the industries that are situated in Ogun State, especially in Ado-Odota local government, I think it's important that the priority is given to this road and additional funding, special funding must be allocated and allowed for in the budget provisions to make sure that this road is done. I think once that road is done, I think the economic viability of that road and the economic importance of that road will be quickly realized. So I think it's a road that needs to be done urgently. I was recently on it, and even somebody hit my car on that road. I told you to show you how bad that road is. So I would urge that this motion is supported, and I urge that my colleagues will definitely do everything to try and make sure that we provide additional funding for this road. I so submit. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Aburi Tokumbo Mukai.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. My name is Adetokunbo Abiru, Lagos East Senatorial District. I also rise to support the motion for the reconstruction of this road, and I'm also very much in alignment with some of the reasons that have been adduced. And more importantly, I also think I should add that this particular road is one of the major infrastructural assets that we have along that corridor. And for us to continue to ensure economic growth in this country, I think that given the economic activities and the educational activities along that corridor is a very high traffic corridor. As earlier mentioned, you have Dangote Cement there, you have Lafarge, you have Nestle. These are major employers of labor, and you also have educational institutions. So I think it's very important that we lend our support to it, and I so support the motion. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Kabirga, Kano South.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I'm Kabiru Gaya, I represent the people of Kano South from Kano State. Mr. President, I stand to support this bill ably moved by Senator Solomon Yai. On this particular road, I remember when I was chairman works, we visited the road, and it's highly traffic road, sir, carrying raw materials from one place to the end of the road, and then also carrying finished products to the port in Lagos. Our major problem, Mr. President, is not really an issue of construction of the road. This road was constructed many years back, but the issue of the vehicles plying on those roads. They are all carrying over 60 metric tons of weight, and the roads are designed for 35 metric tons. Therefore, there should be a law to prevent heavy vehicles plying on those roads, on Nigerian roads. Even all the other roads in this federation, you find that vehicles carrying heavy weight are plying on this road, and the road cannot sustain. Take the example from Abuja to Lokoja. Some sections where the road has been completed, it has totally failed because of the vehicles carrying such a weight. So therefore, there should be a law preventing vehicles from carrying such amount of weight on the road. So, Mr. President, I support the bill that the road should be rehabilitated, but at least the vehicles should be taken note of that they should not fly with more than 35 tons of weight. Thank you, Mr. President.
We'll go to the prayers. Prayer 1, urge the Federal Minister of Works and FEMA to immediately put in motion machinery to temporarily rehabilitate the road pending its total reconstruction to reduce the hardship and suffering of our people. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have. Prayer 2, mandate the committees on works and FEMA to request for a status report from FEMA and the Federal Minister of Works in terms of budgetary allocations for repairs and maintenance and extent of work done over the years. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have. And prayer 3, urge the Federal Ministry of Works to include further funding for the reconstruction of Lagos-Abeokuta Express Road in the next appropriation bill. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues,
Having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I hereby move a motion for this distinguished chamber to adjourn till Tuesday, 15th March 2021. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, the 16th day of March 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till Tuesday, 16th day of March 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt.